All right, I wanted to run through as many of the tools in Notability as I could with as much detail as I could while still brief. So let's launch Notability and get right into it. We've already gone over the setup. Let's talk about the tools. So let's create a new note. Top right-hand corner, blue icon, create a new note. Now, I'm in this in right-handed mode because most people will be viewing it in right-handed mode. Forgive me, I am left-handed, so if I write poorly because I'm touching the screen as I write and things like that, I don't have my normal left-handed mode tools up. But so let's talk about what you see here. Most of the tools are on the top menu bar, so we'll start there, and then we'll talk about the two tools that are found at the bottom when they come up. The first thing in the top left corner is obviously the back arrow. This is going to bring us back to our organizational screen. All right. The second next to that is the share icon. Now, whenever I have something in my note and I want to get it out somewhere else, here's where I can do that. I can email my note. I can upload it to my Google Drive account. If you have a Dropbox, that's great. But since we're doing things at school mostly through Google Drive, that's more likely. Twitter, if you want to, go for it. You can airdrop it if you're working on something and you happen to have Bluetooth open and people are accepting airdrop. Open in is quite handy as well. This will move something from Notability into another app, depending upon what it is. Maybe you want to move it into Explain Everything. Maybe you want to move it into Adobe Acrobat Reader. Maybe you want to move it into some other PDF annotation app, whatever you want to do. You can also print from this window if you wish as well. Then moving on down the list here, this arrow pointing back to the left is undo. So if I just scribble here on my iPad screen and I hit the undo arrow, it will get rid of that command, right? And it'll undo any action, and you can go back many actions with that. Getting out of my creation tools, we start with the T. The T is for type. There's two ways to use it. I can simply tap on a line, and that will bring up the keyboard, and I can type here. Now, right above the keyboard, you'll notice some tools. Starting from the left, indenting. I can tab over using the right arrow, and I can tab back using the left arrow and get to the beginning of the line. After that is font selection. I can tap on that, and I can see the most common fonts, and I can go to more fonts, and I can get even more. Right? Next to font selection, I have the font size. Tapping the A to the left will make the font smaller. Tapping the A to the right will make it larger. I'm actually going to up the size for our purposes here. Next to that is color. You can see I have some colors to choose from. Bold, italic, and underline, the B, I, and U icons. Right? And then next to that, you see the three hearts, A, B, and C. These are favorites, and this is actually a good tip. It's good to set up some favorites in your fonts and Notability because you're going to do this for different uses. Now, it would make sense if you were creating a worksheet in Notability, say, and you wanted to share it with students and you're creating it on your iPad. You'd want to type in a reasonably small font, a normal size font, 10, 12, 14, something like that. But if you were up in front of the classroom and you're projecting your iPad screen onto the projector on the screen in front, you'd want a large font for legibility. You'd want something like 24 to 30. So you might want to save a small font as a favorite. You might want to save a large font as a favorite, and you can change out style, color, font choice. But just so that you can kind of preload and go right into them, you might want to set those favorites up. So if I wanted this Hoffler Text 18 black to be my favorite, I'll just tap A like that, and that's going to be my font favorite. Let me set it, right? And there it is, right? If I want to set up my B, I'll tap and hold, and maybe I want the smaller font there, and you get the idea. I tap and hold on my favorites, and I can set them, and then when I want to access them later, they're there for me. So it's a nice tip to make things easier, going from creating something that's going to be viewed by students on individual iPads to something that's going to be viewed on the screen. All the way to the right above the keyboard, I have an outlining feature. I can access a traditional outline, number 1, letter A, so on and so forth. I can access a bulleted list. You can see there's the shaded in bullets and the open bullets. And then the bottommost one is just regular type, which I am in right now. Right? I can type one of two ways. I can type traditionally on my keyboard. I have spell check on here, which is nice. So I can say type on the keyboard. Right? Or if I want, I can tap the microphone icon below the letter X, talk to the iPad, and it will type what I've dictated like so. All right. Um, Now there's another way to use the type tool. Let me put my keyboard away for a second. You saw that I could tap on any line and the cursor comes up on that line. I can tap down here, right? Or let's do this. Let me tap in the middle of the screen and hold. And now you see that it says paste or text box. Now paste would be if I had copied some text somewhere else, maybe in another app, and I wanted to paste it in Notability. And that's certainly helpful. But text box is also helpful. Text box creates exactly what it sounds like, creates a text box. But this is now movable, right? So if I type here, what I can do is put the keyboard away. I can resize this box. And then I can click and drag and I can move this box wherever I want. So if you have some type that is linked to a visual or corresponds to something you've drawn or handwritten out or something like that, and then that's going to move on the page, a text box will let you move with it. It'll also let you delete it much more easily. So that's the type tool in a quick rundown. Next we have the pencil tool. This is for handwriting. Tapping it once accesses the pencil. Tapping it a second time brings up line weight and color. And you can see here how we can go for increasing lines of thickness or different colors. I'm going to stick with the red at this weight. So if I write on the screen, I can just kind of write. Now, you'll notice that I hand wrote that word. And as compared to 12-point typing, that is enormous. You might say, how can I write in some kind of reasonable way so that I can fit more than 10 words on a page? That is where the two tools at the bottom right of the screen come in handy. Now, if I were in left-handed mode, these tools would be at the top and everything else would be at the bottom. But as they are, they're in this mode. I'm going to access these both. First, I'm going to tap on the hand in the lower right corner, and that brings up a palm rest. And you can see the bottom part of my screen has become shaded gray. That part of the screen is now unwritable. I cannot write in that part of the screen. And what that's doing is it's creating a place where I could rest my hand if I wanted to write. And I can click on the 3 lines that have appeared there now, and I can drag this up. And I can make as much or as little of my screen as I want into my hand rest. This would be pretty extreme, I guess. You know, I'm using more than half of my iPad screen just as a palm rest. But depending upon my writing style, this is a very, very handy tool. And this is one of the reasons why Notability is such a great handwriting app. So let's say I just want to write in the top half of my screen. The lower half of the screen, I'm going to rest my palm. In left-handed mode, it actually works the other way around. It drags down from the top. I guess because lefties have a tendency to write that way. I know I do. Now the second tool that you still see in the, which was at the bottom and now has been dragged up to the middle, is this magnifying glass. When I tap that, that is a zoom function. So you can see that I've selected an area here, and let me, expand it, right? I've selected an area of my note, and that area has been magnified with the zoom tool. And now when I write, now let me write next to type on the keyboard. Now I can write at a comfortable size and it becomes smaller on the page. Notice also that when I got into that green area, it auto scrolled over to the right. So let me draw a line here. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Now watch when I continue this line into the green area, what'll happen. I let go with the pen and it scrolls over for me. Right? So zoom makes my writing nice and small, and when I take the zoom off, you can see that now my writing is at a much more normal size. So when people handwrite in Notability frequently, they become very comfortable with this tool. It means you can write quite a lot and still fit it on one page. So students taking notes in the classroom will probably make good use of this, and if they aren't making good use of it, we should encourage them to do so. I think it's a very handy tool. All right, so that, in a very brief wrap-up, is the writing tool. Next to that is the highlighter. Tapping it once activates the highlighter. Tapping it a second time does the same thing as the writing tool. It brings up different colors and different line weights. I'm going to use a slightly thicker highlighter, right? And now let me go back and highlight what I've written. I can highlight over my handwritten text. I can highlight over my typed text. I can highlight anywhere else on the page I want, right? Next to the highlighter is my eraser tool. Now all I need to do with the eraser is just touch the line and the whole thing will be gone. So I will just touch one part of that highlighted line and it's gone. I will touch just one part of the E from right and it's gone. And now let me get rid of the rest of that word. Moving on, the scissors tool is a selector. Now, the selector works much as you'd expect, with the scissors icon. I can just kind of cut around something. So let me cut around the word zoom here, right? And you can see that it's become marqueed. I can now drag this somewhere else on the page, right? And notice that it took the line to the left because that was written in one continuous line, took that with it. If I take 2 fingers now, I can rotate this, right? So 1 finger or the stylus will move it. 2 fingers and I twist, I can rotate this around. I can also scale it up. I can also make it larger by spreading my fingers, and I can make it smaller by pinching my fingers, right? So your handwritten text can become, sort of moved around, scaled up, scaled down a number of ways with the tools in Notability. It'll also let me, you see there, it gives you the option of cutting it or deleting it. So handy tool, I think overlooked by many people, but something you can really get a lot of use of. You could change the style, by the way, as well. I can now change the color. I could thin down the line. I can make it thicker, right? So you can see that, rather than rewrite something in a different color because it means something, this is a very quick way of accessing it. Lots of different uses for this tool, okay? The hand tool is really simply about scrolling. If I want to scroll down the page to write something at the bottom, or scroll to a second page, or I can scroll back up. If you're just reading over notes and you don't want to make any changes, it's good to have that tool active because it prevents you from making mistakes or changing things you don't mean to change. So the hand tool, the scroll tool is nice. Now we get over to the audio recording. I'll tap that, and now you can see that the volume is going up with my voice, and there's also a count in seconds. Here's something nice. I can also still access my tools while I'm speaking. So here's my hand tool. Let me go back over to writing, and I can say hi as I'm speaking. When I stop, I tap my audio recording again. I can access it here. I can play it back. I can also delete it. When I export, right, you would see the audio recordings if you kept it in Notability format, in note format. I'll play the audio. Notice how the word hi that I wrote is sort of faint now. Watch what'll happen. And now you can see that the volume is going up with my voice, and there's also a count in seconds. Here's something nice. I can also still access my tools while I'm speaking. So here's my hand tool. Let me go back over to writing, and I can say hi as I'm speaking. So notice that as I was talking, as I got to the word hi that I wrote, the text I wrote sunk up with what I spoke. Imagine grading something. If you're grading a paper and you're providing annotations, you can speak about what you're circling, what you're underlining, what you're correcting. You can package up the note back to the student, and they can get their paper with your comments, and not only will they have your handwritten comments, it can also have your voice comments on it, and the synchronization will stay between what you've written and what you say. So audio recording, very powerful tool. Another one of the overlooked tools in Notability is the media icon, this plus sign. When I tap it, you can see the options I have. When I say photo here, this accesses my camera roll, and I can access any of the photos I have on my iPad. Take a photo is pretty self-explanatory. It lets me take a picture with my camera, and then that'll go right into the note. Figure, let's look at that for a second. Figure lets you access some tools in Notability that maybe be most fitting in like a science or a math class, but you never really know. In the top left here, you could draw certain shapes. You could draw a perfectly straight line, or you could type with that A tool. It's a text tool. You can change the color, you can change the fill, and again, this goes into the thickness of things. Here's the thickness of your line. You can also crop. With the crop tool, you can make this figure bigger or smaller. This is not something a lot of people will use, but every once in a while, it may help you to draw, a T-chart or something, and you can draw perfectly straight lines. So the figure tool is something to know about. Then that figure comes into your image. Now, I didn't do anything in there, so it's blank, so I'll just delete it. Below figure, we have web clip. Here's a very handy one, right? Web clip. Let's look at this. Web clip will bring up a browser, and I can go to any web page I want to in the browser. Let's just go to YouTube for a second, right? And I can manipulate YouTube here or any website, and really, I could embed any video, any content from a website such as this. I can go to, my class website. What if I went to my class website and I embedded that into the note because there's something on my class website I want you to access, right? Here, for example, right, here's a lesson I've put up on the web, and say I wanted the students to read and answer some questions about this. I go to this website, I click done, and now that web clip is in the note, right? And now all I need to do, if I'm the student viewing this, I tap on the image, I go to browser, and that website is active for me, and I can read, and I can follow links, and I can look at content that's on there, right? I can do anything I need to do in this website. I click done, or tap done, and I'm back to my note. So imagine if you are, on retreat, or you're going to be out a certain day, or you're reviewing for a test. You could create a sub-assignment. You could create a review assignment where you embed some kind of content using web clip into a Notability note, and then back in the note, you can have students answer questions, take notes, provide you written feedback, and this can all be shared back to you in ways that we'll discuss later, so that everything stays within this one nice, neat little place. Very powerful. With the media browser, there's also one more thing to make sure we know, and that's stickies. All right. Now, stickies are handy. I most often use the typing sticky down below, but you can explore these. Here's why the typing stickies are handy. Let me put a typing sticky in. First of all, let me just drag it up where you can see it. Right. There's my sticky. Let me expand it. Right. I'll tap in here, and now I can type. And let me say topic 1, right? Here's why I did that. If you're using your notebook as primarily a handwritten set of notes, it's hard to search it, especially if that notebook becomes many, many pages long. So if I'm in my handwritten mode here, and I write my notes out, right? I want to be able to find on my page where I started topic 1. I can access that, right? And I'll show you that in a minute, how these typing stickies will help you when your notebook becomes very, very, very long, right? But first, let's talk about the utilities. Up in the top right, I have this wrench icon. These are the utilities. I can go into paper. Now, in the setup video, we set up our default paper, and that's what this is. But if I want to change the color of my paper, or the lines, or the lack of lines, it would let me do that. Utilities will also let me access a help menu, and this will get you some basic facts about Notability if you need them. All right. Now, let's get back to that typing sticky. If I've handwritten everything in my notebook and I don't do a lot of typing, I want to find a way of searching topics in my notebook and coming to a particular area, right? Here's how I do it. Top right corner, Pages icon. The Pages icon will show me all the pages of my note. Now, this is only 2 pages. By the way, every handwritten note in Notability is by default 2 pages. Whenever you start to handwrite, they automatically add a blank page at the end in case you spill over, so that you can continuously keep writing. If you export the note, though, it'll always get rid of that blank page, so don't worry. All right? So let's pretend for a second that this is a much longer note. Say I've been working on this all year, and I've gone back and periodically tagged my note with stickies. I can search it now, right? Because this magnifying glass icon will let me enter a word. And if I say topic, and I click search, notice how in my sticky, the word topic is highlighted in yellow. It's found it, right? And you can see there's one result because next to the magnifying glass icon on the top right, there's a red 1, right? So if you are handwriting your notes in class a lot, it's good to have kids periodically tag their notes with maybe a chapter title or a section title, or maybe they just tag it, by date, tag when they begin a trimester, however you want to do it. It'll make these big note files much more friendly. The teacher can also search it on the other end, by the way, when they are looking to do this. Now, that's the tool palette, essentially. Let's work in Notability in a way that is going to commonly be used in the classroom. I'm going to go out of Notability. I'm going to go to my Google Drive, right? And in Google Drive, I have a whole set of worksheets here. Let me access them, right? Say I want to go into Notability with this worksheet right now, right? So in Google Drive, in the top right corner, there's the 3 dots, and I'll say Open In, and I'll choose Notability, right? Now, here's what they're giving me options to do. See that I am currently waiting for the screen to catch up here. There we go. See that I'm still in the note that I'm looking at, but they're giving me options. I can take this PDF I have called Agreement, and I can create a new note with it. I could add this PDF to the note I'm already writing in. I can add it to some other note that's in my notebook, or I can just say cancel and forget that I ever did this. Let me add it to this existing note. It's going to give me another step. Now, that PDF is 21 pages long, and Notability will ask me how much of it I want to do. I actually only want to import the 1 page, so I'm going to click OK, right? So now notice over here in my pages, let me get rid of the hand rest for a second. In the pages, I have now my worksheet. Let me tap the worksheet, right? And it brings me right to it. And I can now do this worksheet using all my tools in Notability. So let's use my zoom tool, right? Let me bring my zoom tool down here, right? I can bring my zoom tool over to where I need to write, right? And I can write, plural, because this is a plural noun, right? I can drag it over here, and I can say singular, because this is a singular noun, right? And I can complete my worksheet, right? Now, in the pages view that I'm in, there's a couple of things to look at. Notice how the page that I've selected has a blue plus and a red X, right? Let's talk about the red X. If I tap the red X, I can delete this page from my notebook, or, and more usefully here, I could clear this page. Now I've done numbers 1, 11, and 21. When I click clear page, watch what happens. The worksheet is still there, but my handwriting is gone, right? So if I started something and really messed it up, I can always clear my sheet, right? The blue plus icon will also let me add a page of notes above or below what I'm doing. And this is great. Imagine handing out a worksheet to the students, and they're working on it, they complete it, and then you want to build on that work, you want to build some notes on that work. You can have them add a page right to their notebook that goes right in with the worksheet, and now everything's in one place, and it's nice and neat, and it's easy to work with. So that is a very quick rundown of the basic tools in Notability and how they function.